Welcome to the On the Road edition of Patch Notice for Deadlock with Jacky and Blank, live from our hotel.
Hello everyone, it's Patch Notice on the road in the lovely hotel that me and Blank are currently stationed in.
Yeah, we're chilling. We're having a good time. We're going to talk about some of the patch changes today, just general wise for all you visual learners at home. We're here to help. Obviously, it's going to be a bit more of a scuffed edition because we don't have access to the massive tech. One big change, though, which I'm sure you'll be all happy to hear about after having Homelander, Superman, and Hancock in your games, is that all accounts that were invited from cheaters who have been banned will now be also banned also. Also banned.
Also banned.
Big ban. So Thank you, Mr. Yoshi, for that one. Appreciate you on that. Hopefully no more spin botters and no more looking at the ground and shooting me out your asses.
No. It was getting a bit egregious. Obviously, you could just invite all accounts and keep it going. So that's actually a really nice one.
Yeah.
Clean out the community.
It's very
a little
huge.
Bit. Yeah, that's a good change.
I think most people weren't cheating anyway. It's just like...
You had a few bad actors.
Occasional rotten egg.
You had a few bad actors. Yeah. It's just obviously small player pool.
Who were consistent, pretending to be flyers. Yeah. Anyway, we've rambled on about that quite a bit, but it was a big change.
It's a nice one.
The other one is that the damage report changes as well, which is kind of nice. You know, we now have that aggregating from all damage from all units. It displays both heroes and hero abilities. So this is actually kind of big because if you're specifically looking at a character who's really fed Jacky, you can actively locate that one person and be like, right, that's where most of their damage is coming from.
No, damage report's been sick. What was that brought in 4th of July? Since then, we've seen it revised slightly. 11th
really
July
useful.
got a bit better. It's super good.
Do I buy Imp Spirit Resist or Imp Bullet Resist first? And for me, that's really useful to make that decision. Now it's even more useful because you can identify who it's coming from. Because I don't really want to know about the 7 who's not been farming, just wandering around 7k souls compared to the Paradox who is at 17k. I want to know where that damage is coming from.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. It's a nice change.
Yeah.
Also, it's a lot easier to see it now. It's not only inside shops, it's always there. It's slap on your screen. So when you die, take a look. It can help you win games.
Yeah, I've had situations where it will just close on me. And then I can't get it back.
And it's gone.
It is. Yeah, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's got to go. But now it's back forever. So that's very, very nice to see.
It's handy.
There's a load of visual changes as well, which we won't go over all of them.
They're all documented in the Discord, though. We're going to, alongside this, drop a few posts. Obviously, can't make a full patch notice as we are mid-event working.
Yeah.
We've got 2 laptops between us, a mic and an iPhone. But I did get all the screenshots pre and post-patch, so I'll drop those later.
Yeah, he's done well. There's a lot of new visual effects as well. I mean...
Everything's changed.
The big one for me was Cold Front, getting a new visual effect, because that just was... that was your effect, so that's nice to see. There's a new one there. A lot of spectator changes as well, and the big ones, which I think you'll be documenting over in the old Discord post as well, is the mid-boss changes.
Yeah, and mid has been completely overhauled basically. It looks 1-to-1, very different. Top floor now, you've got 2 drop spots, so you don't have to worry about taking so much time to go either up the stairs and in or ground floor.
Yeah.
You can drop, but you can also mantle up because there is elevation on bottom, middle and top, so you can get in anywhere.
Yeah.
It's way, way better actually.
So for you Ivy mains out there who have been stealing all of my rejuvenators, rejoice. There is now more opportunity to do that. Thank you so much.
Especially with the changes that came in with the fact mid-boss now makes an active global call-out, so you'll hear it around the map. I believe that's at 30% now.
Yeah, it was over that or 35. I believe it's 35. Shall we have a quick...
Scan the notes.
Let's scan.
We've got it on a phone. We tried to have it on the laptop, but it's too far away.
It's just too far.
It's too far.
Oh dear. Well, give us a second.
Yeah, hang on.
35%. I thought it was 35%. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. You get a bit of an early warning system when mid-boss is low. You know it's on it. It kind of saves that initial pinging mid and just going, please someone check. Please someone check.
Check mid.
Please someone check.
Get the guided owl missile in mid. Please tell us if they are in there. But yeah, the big one as well for mid-boss, he has just got really fat now. He's fat, he's strong, he's powerful, he's screaming at 35%. But yeah, his starting health went from 4,500 to 5,000, and also his health gain per minute is 200, 275. So if you are going to go for mid-boss, you have to commit to it. Again, this goes out to all the Ivy mates who've had
Shout out 2 times,
shout out 2 times to the Ivy mates who have been having a great time this past week with the new bullet damage scaling changes. soloing mid-boss at 15 minutes, I'm so sorry, Devon, it is not going to be as easy anymore, okay?
No, you can't do none of that. Also, another key one to remember, the Rejuvenator drop time when it's coming down from the bottom used to be 12 seconds, now only 9. So that window is a little bit smaller for steals.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit long before. It does kind of change things up a bit because I think from Fountain getting to the actual mid-boss, a lot of times it takes me around about 7 seconds.
Yeah.
So I might be just getting there on time this time around rather than having to wait around on the outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Also, they reworked the comeback formula to be less weighted towards team versus team net worth. I'm still not sure how this is going to work out. I think if you guys are paying attention, or if you weren't paying attention, I'll update you a little bit. Some of the eggheads over in the theory crafting side of the server, they'd figured out that it was actually, if you were in a case where you were losing by quite a bit, you just wolf pack, death ball, find their lowest net worth player and just dogpile on them. And even if you lost, I think it was 3 players in that engagement. Still net positive. Which was a bit egregious. I think there was cases where, you feel like you're winning a game and then suddenly they're way back up in souls. And this wasn't even a case of, good players weren't even able to stymie the net worth just zooming up. So again, a lot of games were attempted to finish around about 16, 15 minutes just to stop that from happening.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of tweaks that's been going on with that. Obviously, we heard from Yoshi that it's an ongoing process.
It is.
It is getting better. It's one of those as well where I think it's just finding a nice medium ground of what works, and I suppose the formula on Valve's side as well. As it's a bit harder to do.
Yeah, again, it's like a case of, they were saying it's more towards the net worth of the dying hero compared to the average of your team. No more hunting down the poor 6k warden on the enemy team anymore.
The Bebop that's gone 0-50.
The Bebop's gone 0-50. Don't make him go any worse just to try and get that money up. But again, ongoing. Still not sure how it's going to work out. Haven't really tested it too much myself. Base ammo increased by 5%, except for Haze and Ray. Reasonable, because they're very annoying to deal with.
Yeah, that's fair. That's been happening consistently as well. We had that in the 11th of July update. I think there was about a 5% global increase. Yeah. They didn't have the buff. Does make sense. Wraith's drum magazine is huge. And for Haze, the reload time's so short, even though it's a small mag.
It was a case where she was just taking down walkers. Here, there, and everywhere.
First-hand experience with that one.
Yeah, very much so. Tier 2 items cost increase from 1200 to 1250. Not a lot, but still will be pretty noticeable. That's 1 extra minion, well, half a minion, let's say, half a trooper.
So don't miss those last hits.
Yeah. T4 items cost reduced from 6,000 to 6,300. I think that is the big change.
Yeah.
Because I still think maybe it come down a little bit, but it was a case where it's still sort of more worth it right now just to stack 1,200 items, stack 3,000 items. And I think that they're actively working on bringing up the overall power of the T4 items, especially in the weapon category. I think some of the T4 vitality items are actually really good.
They're pretty damn good.
Yeah, same with spirit items. I think Curse is very worthwhile. The 6,500 still will be very worthwhile. The 6,300 as well, Jacky. Vitality base health bonus increased from 8, 12, 16, 20% respectively to 11, 14, 17, 20%. So beefier heroes in the game.
Which could be quite nice. It did feel like at certain times everyone was a bit squishy. You could get melted very easily. Yeah. So a bit of a global buff. Can't turn your nose up at it.
Yeah, I think the big one there is definitely the 11 and 14. So that's for your 500 and your 1,250 now items. So it's a case of, even if you invest a little bit, if you're a squishy character, you are going to gain quite a bit of health from just buying extra health or sprint boots. If you're not buying sprint boots, just buy sprint boots.
Invest in shoes today.
Invest in your Nikes every game. I think it's the most worthwhile thing to do at the moment, is just to buy sprint boots. Yeah. Even just the extra regen you get from it, crazy and lane. Here's my tips video. I'm sorry.
I know, we're kind of just cluing you in on everything.
I've come in with this with my locked-in laning mentality, but we'll carry on with the patch notes. Do you want to go through the weapons?
Yeah, slide them over.
Look?
We do have the one phone between us.
Just the one. This one's recording, so we don't have a third phone. You'd think we might, but we don't.
No, not this time. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
We'll buy a third phone.
Third phone for patch notes.
That's all you really need. Yeah, the patch notice on the road.
Scuffed edition.
So weapon-wise, start off, restorative shot, bullet resist reduced from 8% down to 7%.
Yeah.
Fairly acceptable change all in all.
Pretty small. I think we'll get to it later on, but a lot of the heroes have had their bullet resist change. So, for instance, you won't be running into... I think Bebop had 24% bullet resist at the start of the game.
Yeah, it was huge.
Pretty massive, to be honest with you. So it's quite... Even though they reduced his regen down to 1 last patch, it's still quite difficult to bully him out of a lane early on if you mainly just bullet damage. So I think for... A lot of these items, they're trying to bring bullet resist down early.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of just having stalemates, because you have so many stalemates in lane.
Exactly. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
Headshot booster as well. That's fire rate reduced from 6% to 5%. Obviously very cheap, very effective.
Yeah.
Was quite a big buff. This also
nice
goes back to what you're saying as well. Stacking cheaper items was kind of meta, so trying to reduce that a little bit.
Yeah, they still want them to be good, and they still are good. I mean, like for Dynamo, headshot boost is probably the best thing you can buy early on, just in terms of like getting that headshot damage. I think Bruiser Irie, that lane that you play as Dynamo, kind of needs the headshot booster. But making those 500 items slightly less powerful, not going too hard on it, is the right play. And I think they're just refining stuff now, which is nice.
Yeah, it's more minor tweaks. But this is a bit of a bigger addition. So we do have a new item again, which is nice. Haven't had one for a few patches. But we now have rapid rounds. New tier 1 item that's coming in for the weapon category. That's plus 12% fire rate, plus 1 sprint. But the drawback is minus 40 HP.
Yeah, that is kind of a huge one. Again, it's still a case of like, there are some... I do find that right now there are 500 items that are very worthwhile in the weapon category. Yeah. Like, Hollow Point Ward is so strong. Restorative Shot, really super strong good. Also. Headshot Booster. It's just kind of like figuring out which characters is going to be good on. I mean, we've already looked at Haze, Wraith. These two characters seem like they'll have a lot of benefit from that, but do they buy that over Hollow Point Ward, Headshot Booster, or Restorative Shot? That's the question I have in my mind. Again, your slots are limited early on.
Yeah.
But it might move more into like Dota territory where you just buy a load of these items early on and sell them later.
Yeah.
Which
Only
is cool.
drawback is the result you get from the reduced souls back, but to a degree, late game could be worth just switching them out when you have an abundance of souls.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, though, it is a cool new item. It's like when
it.
active reload came in. It spiced up the game a bit, so that's a fun one. Some smaller changes there in weapons as well. One of the bigger ones that we'll go straight to, Veil Walker. That's now not in the weapon category at all. That's now a tier 3 for Vitality. Kind of needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where literally every character that I played, it was just like one of the most... The earliest item I would buy was just Veil Walker. It's getting to the point where even on someone like Yamato, who... realistically you sort of want to rush Mystic Shot and lane just to get like that poke off, I started like moving into Veil Walker because it's just so much value for so little souls. And I'm glad they brought it out because I was having a lot of invisible fellows moving into my lane all the time, minute 6.
It's like, it got to a point where it wasn't Veil Walker, it was Veil Walkers.
Yeah,
plural.
everyone had it.
Everyone was doing it. So yeah, I mean, that one's fair. That's actually quite a cool one. Again, as well, patch drop last night, 2 a.m. We've been getting games in on the hotel Wi-Fi. We're in many different regions right now. We're trying to find where the best ping is. So if you spot us in our games trying out Veil Walker, you might wonder why we're lagging.
Yeah, forgive us. Forgive us, please. 100 MS. We're still winning the games, though.
Yeah, we are. We are. We're taking some dubs. You've also got Burst Fire. Now gives +2. That's meters per second move speed, I believe, over the 3 seconds of its active.
Yeah, which is sort of nice, I think, for especially heroes like McGuinness, who can build Burst Fire, Bebop as well. Having that extra movement at the start is quite nice, because I think that if you are McGuinness, buying Burst Fire is very decent for you. It's just a question of whether that item is going to be still useful.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have started to move away from it, but I don't know, maybe this changes things up. Going fast is always nice.
It is. You'll notice that, especially if you're not factoring that into your games. Start investing in movement, because it will save your life or potentially just set you up a lot more throughout the game.
Sprint boots, Nikes, get them.
Drag them in through the shop. Okay, Siphon Bullets as well. Max frequency improved from 1 second to 0.8, so a bit of a smaller buff there, but that will actually have benefit.
Yeah, I think that there's been Abrams building a lot of Siphon Bullets towards the end game. Like, that is quite strong. Again, that sort of relies on the speed at which you're firing. I think an Ivy might get a lot of benefit out of that. Haze maybe also. You become really tanky, you will. It's quite hard to kill you at that point. So that's a nice little change. I did like that from Siphon Bullets because it did feel sort of one of those items where, do I buy it? Do I not?
Yeah, you're kind of on the fence a little bit. Now, these ones towards the bottom are actually quite interesting as well. So Silencer, just up front, that no longer gives you the plus 20% ammo capacity, which is quite a big amount.
Yeah, so I think for Silencer, what they were trying to take away from it is the fact that you buy Silencer to shut someone down. I don't think you should be getting 20% ammo off the top of it.
For the buff off the back of the reduction.
Yeah, technically, if you're factoring into it, I'm hitting you with technically here. I'm so sorry. I'm going to start saying obviously and basically next. I'm not trying to demean you, I promise. But I will say 20% ammo is just effective DPS.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you're buying Silencer, it's already really strong. I think right now it's 3.5 seconds of silence, but still, you are just constantly hitting them with that.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to play against. I think players who do build into Silencer, like a Haze, I think seen some really good Hazes with Silencers. I play Paradox, I'm ruined.
Yeah, it's GG at that point. On the other end of it, though, you do actually have a bit of a buff in terms of magazine capacity for Titanic magazine. That's up from 90% to 100%,
It's going
which
up
is nice. Every patch, we're getting a little bit more. I mean, they've got to live up to their name. It's a Titanic
It's
magazine.
going to be gargantuan magazine at some point.
You've got to fit all those actors on it.
Yeah, you do.
You know?
absolutely need to.
It's not easy otherwise. And then Ricochet as well, that's going to give you flat plus 100 health.
Yeah, I think for Ricochet it's not a bad change. I think there's very limited characters that build it right now. I think Infernus is one that immediately comes to mind. So does Haze. But yeah, it's a nice little extra. Really.
Yeah. Little bit of a buff there. Vampiric Burst also getting a few changes. Active now adds plus 50% to your clip, and that's a one-time on cast.
Yeah, this is a funny one. I actually really like Vampiric Burst, and I think I've seen a lot more people building it and having fun with it since the last patch. But I think that there's now builds out there where, to be fair, if you remember the days of the Haze and the Wraith gameplay just ratting in your games with the QSR as well as
active reload as well.
You just never ran out of ammo. Still possible to do now, but with Vampiric Burst, like that is very, very nice, and you can just not run out of ammo as long as you have big enough a magazine.
Yeah, it will though have its increased cooldown bumped up from 24 seconds to 35 seconds. So do factor that one in, a few seconds more on the delay.
Yeah.
All right then. Vitality items, Blank. Healing Right, giving you +2 sprint. Healing Right continues to be quite useful.
Yeah, I think that more and more people are buying Healing Right, especially in a lot of my games. You know, if you're losing a lane versus, for instance, goodness me, I mean, I've actually had some pretty hurtful lanes versus Talons, especially with their spirit scaling going up now, which we'll talk about later. But it hits you with his charge shot, like, goodness me, it pains. So having opportunity to pick up Healing Right is nice, but did feel like it felt like you were getting your money burned slightly. So I'm just healing myself. But now having +2 sprint on as well becomes pretty nice item to have.
Bit of a beneficial one. I think also as well, because it's so commonly picked up now during laning. Yeah, you're going to see a bit more oomph, a bit more speed in your lane, which isn't a bad thing.
No, I think it's nice. I think because it's less now of a I'm losing my lane option and more this is going to benefit me as well in the future option, which is good.
Yeah, extra health, extra stamina, extra regen, all getting very slight buffs and nerfs as well. You've got extra health going up from +150 to +160, so it is a little bit extra.
Tiny.
Yeah. 10.
Minuscule.
10.
That's like one bullet from Paradox.
Yeah. So we'll see if that one really factors in at all. Fire rate for extra stamina has been reduced from 8% to 7%. So again, a bit of a minor nerf there. More so in practice, I suppose you have to see if that one has much of a tangible change.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Vitality items that they changed was more about, these are about survivability and less about damage. I think we'll get on to debuff reducer soon. That's actually quite a big change on that one.
Yeah, we can jump straight down a bit as well, because we have a fair few to get through here. If we're looking specifically to the new and improved Veil Walker that's changed over, though, no longer weapon, now all about vitality, that's had quite a few switch ups on there.
That has, and I think, just handing it across.
Slide him in.
Yeah, so I think that the big one is your invisibility and speed duration increased from 4 to 5 seconds. You might be saying to yourself right now, you've made it worse, guys. You've made it more egregious. But again, it costs 3k. Your cooldowns have been reduced from 25 to 20 seconds. They haven't made it worse, I promise. Please believe me. Bullet shield increased from 150 to 185. They haven't made it worse, I promise. Bonus health increased from 250 to 270. Oh, that's fortitude. Okay, we're okay.
Yeah, you're all right. That would have been a bit egregious.
That would have been crazy. But yeah, I think that, reducing the cooldown and making it a little bit stronger is just factoring in from it being a 1200 item to a 3k item.
Yeah.
I do think that even as it stood, it sort of already felt like a 3k item though, a little bit. But I do think it's nice moving it into the vitality category. less so the fact that bringing it up to 3k souls, but more like you can't have your heal Bane.
No.
And so a lot of right now, sort of the meta is enduring speed, heal Bane, and then building into bullet armor and spirit armor.
Yeah.
And this way, you can build into Veil Walker, but it means you're sacrificing one of the key 4 that a lot of people are building into, which is really good to see. So I like that change because now you're making a choice as opposed to this has no downsides. I buy it for 1200, I win my lane.
As much as it takes up an extra slot in Vitality, it also opens one up in Weapon, which gives you a little bit more flexibility to try out different play styles there.
Use some of the other items.
Because there is quite a lot.
There's more. Fortitude, bonus health increase from 250 to 275. Not a big one. I think Superior Stamina did have a big change here, which is air jump and dash distance increased from 30% to plus 50%. So Superior Stamina, less now about, you've got more stamina, but more that you are going to go fast, you're going to go far. For players that are on Mo and Krill, that getting the distance closed quickly could be nice. Even picking it up on pocket, you want to be really movable. Very hard to kill. You'll like this one, Marcus, I promise.
Yeah, it's also just in general for anyone that enjoys movement. Obviously, one of the nice bits about Deadlock is there is a lot of depth to the movement. If you can use it to your strength, it's beneficial. That will make it a bit more comfortable for you.
Yeah. Talking about movement very quickly, we'll just go back to general changes really quick. I'm just going to jump into it.
Okay, slide in.
No more Infernus speed exploit.
No
more gas anymore, and getting and getting stuck in the running animation, so you couldn't just Naruto around the map anymore.
Can't do that.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And remember, just like a solid 2 days in the Discord was just filled with Infernus going fast around the map, which was nice.
It's a weird one because it's one of those as well where innately with the Source engine, I remember showing you about it where I was just like, if you strafe, it does increase your velocity. It is kind of minute in Deadlock, you don't notice as much, akin to sort of a Counter-Strike, something like that. But you do get that slight velocity increase when whipping your mouse, so still something to factor in.
Absolutely. Rescue Beam, cooldown reduced from 35 to 30 seconds. I think that's a good change.
Yeah, that's
I think
a nice
Rescue Beam felt like, whenever I bought it, it felt just quite long to use. The heal amount's been increased from 25% to 30%. So you can still cast this on yourself. I think a lot of people don't realise that you can cast it on yourself and it takes less time because you're not dragging anyone either. Also, blank tip, see a Dynamo ulting off in the distance. You can Rescue Beam him and whoever's in the black hole, in the singularity, to the rest of your squad.
There you go.
Pretty broken.
It's a useful one to have.
Yeah. Majestic Leap, health increase from plus 75 to 100. Too big difference there. Life Strike works against creeps to 25% effectiveness. I think that's a nice change.
Yeah.
The amount of times that you're punching heroes is not all the time. No. Being able to get some benefit back from a 3k soul item, just being able to punch creeps in the head, and then be able to get some life back off that is really, really nice.
Felt like one otherwise you were avoiding a little bit, so adds kind of somewhat to the playbook. You might want to use it now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's only a few characters that really build it. I think that people have been picking up on maybe Pocket. I've seen Waxnell's build of 15-minute one punch man on Pocket with Life Strike, but now you can also punch creeps in the face and get some health off that. Leech bonus health increase from 150 to 175. I think they keep trying to make Leech more of a big thing, but there is so much lifesteal and Spirit's lifesteal in this game that it just doesn't feel like a worthwhile pickup at this point. Spirit power increase from 10 to plus 12, and I just don't think it's that big of a difference that it's going to be worth
it. Seems like that's getting worked on there, because that got notable buffs back on the 11th of July. We saw that changing quite a bit, so I think that's just something that's in the workshop right now.
Yeah, even weapon damage up from 12% to 15%. I don't know if it's big enough change. I'm not even sure about that item in general, but I think some people are making it work.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do with it. Shadow Weave, Invis, sprint speed reduced from plus 5 to plus 2. Good change.
Yeah, that's for the best.
I think as much as we talk about going fast and buying a sprint boots, there were some people going too fast.
Yeah, if you're delivering an urn in like a second, it's worrying.
I mean, on my Warden at the moment, if I build Warden with Fleet Foot, Enduring Speed, bunch of other stuff on there, I think I was just running around the map in like 2 seconds. I could deliver urn in probably 3.
I'm taking a Guardian. I see him pick up the urn. We've got the urn.
We've got the urn.
It's done.
Yeah, it's pretty busted. So I do think speed maybe needs to be brought back just a little bit, and having items that have plus 5 sprint on it is...
It's a bit egregious.
It's a bit egregious. I almost dropped the phone there.
Don't do that.
There was a lot of item changes this time.
Yeah, this one had one of the bigger sets of item changes. That's why a mobile patch notice wouldn't have worked. It would have been way too much editing on the poor old laptop.
It really would have been. Phantom Strike no longer grants 200 health and now grants plus 50% bullet resist, and weapon damage increased from 20% to 30%. It no longer grants bullet shield and teleport, and disarms the enemy for the slow duration of 3 seconds, which I actually really like, because Phantom Strike felt more like a meme build item for characters like Mo and Krill, where you Phantom Strike someone and then you ult them with a combo, and they can't really do anything about that. It's terrifying, but it just got to the point where people were like, just buy Warp Stone instead. Same for Geist. Like, you Phantom Strike someone, you soul siphon, and you're not getting much value other than that. You can just, once again, buy Warp Stone. Much better.
It is just better.
Yeah. But this time around, I think Phantom Strike getting the weapon damage increase from plus 20% to 30% and disarming on use is really good, and might make it more of a viable option for some of those characters that want to get in your face.
Almost feels like it should have had the disarm the whole time.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah.
Phantom Strike's like an assassination.
Yeah.
You know, you take the weapons out of the hands, hide them in your rucksack.
Especially when they make out like bandits.
Yeah.
Throw them in there. Like a
You're
little
just Phantom Striking people and leaving.
just in the street.
Well, I've attacked you. What are you going to do next?
See
I'm
you.
going to be back.
Yeah. No, yeah, so that's kind of a positive one, actually. Feels like that could be a nice change.
Yeah, the big one of this patch, though, Soul Rebirth. T4 Vitality item. Basically Guardian Angel, if you played League. But still very cool, and also is a really nice item to have. And I think that it will help teams who are ahead. I think especially players who are carrying as well. So if you're ahead in the game and you can buy Soul Rebirth, it means you've got a lot of expendable souls. If you get unlucky in a team fight, you can come back and can try and clean up. Also gives 20% weapon damage and plus 10% cooldown reduction. This is an insane item. I think it's going to change the way the game plays a lot. So this one's going to be really, really cool. So make sure you're watching out for the effects of Soul Rebirth and knowing that guy in 4 seconds will be returning.
Yeah, especially if we're keeping up with the weekly patches every Thursday. Definitely play around with that one, because that will probably get some changes quite quickly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it does have a cooldown of 220 seconds, which is fair, right? You're waiting almost 4 minutes before you can do it again. But usually, like, you're gearing up for a final fight, you're gearing up for a fight on Rejuvenator. Having Soul Rebirth, because you have the expendable souls, because you are ahead, is probably going to be a winning move.
Situational, but classy.
Yeah, there you go. Spirit items for you.
Oh, here we are, mate.
Yeah.
That we said, there is a lot of item changes this time around.
There was. This is going to maybe a long video. Maybe Jacky will do some cutting. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe we'll cut some bits
Slicing.
out. We'll see. If you enjoy it, let us know. We can maybe do more of this sort of long form, rambly kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Whenever we're together. Depends when we're working.
Yeah, true. Or we just go online. Do it there. If you like it, of course. If you don't like it, you rather it was snappy. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay then, so spirit items. Up first, you've got Ammo Scavenger. That's spirit per power, power per soul reduced from 3 to 2.
Egregious and lame as well.
Quite cheap, quite annoying.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Again, kind of following the theme of not making the smaller items as ludicrously strong as they could be. So that's a nice one. Infuser as well. Spirit resistance reduced from 8% to 7%.
Yeah, Infuser got a couple of nerfs already. I think it's in a good spot. I mean, I build it on 7 mainly, just for the Spirit lifesteal. I think it's really nice for early game jungling.
Yeah, that's fair enough. This is a nice one. Slowing Hex. Obviously, everyone's picking it up. It's very popular. As soon as someone goes up in the air, blam.
Like goes to someone talking about Vindictors.
Yeah.
Only.
As soon as you're in the air, you back down to the ground. It's a no-fly zone in my lane, so I'm afraid. But that's going to reduce the sprint buff that you had from +2 to +1. So still go a little bit quick, but not ridiculously fast.
Because you were getting the slow on top of getting the +2 sprint, which made a case where if you... Again, I'm going to bring this back to maybe a Warden or an Abrams. Like, you find someone in the air and you hit them with Slowing X. They're slowed. You're really fast. You catch up. And this is all from just buying 1/1200 item. So, became pretty upsetting to play against.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Let's have a look through then as well. Just cluing in on the notable ones. Silence Cliff, that is going to give you +2 sprint back. That's the change there. Alongside reducing spirit resist instead of providing spirit amplification.
Yeah, I really like this change. This change is really, really nice. I think Silencing Glyph, needed a big change. I think it's good and it's fun. There were just better options, I would say. that if you really wanted to shut someone down, you just save it for Curse, honestly. But Silencing Glyph now, with the Spirit Resist brought down, does make it quite a desirable option, as well as the Sprint being brought in there as well, and everybody likes speed.
Yeah, you do. You like to go
I like going fast.
He enjoys going fast.
Yeah,
Torment Pulse, rather. That's going to be target count up from 1 to 2.
That's pretty cool. I like that one. I think a lot of times you would build that on characters like Yamato as well as Mo and Krill. You want to get up close and personal. Even Abrams would like that, but it did have this sort of effect where it didn't feel hugely good. But I think that less against heroes, this is now going to be a really nice item to pick up for jungling camps as well, because you're not just hitting one of them at a time, you're hitting two, and this should increase clear speeds. I mean, for Mo and Krill, I can only imagine that jungling is going to be pretty insane for him. And if he's just getting into your jungle as well and taking it all, because it doesn't do the tier 3 camps very quick, but tier 2 camps is literally you just invest a couple of points into his burrow, one unburrow into a Scorn, the entire camp's gone. Yeah. And I think with Torment Pulses is only going to get worse.
No, exactly. So
not better, but worse for you.
Yeah, it's one of those. Factor it in. Be aware. Don't get caught out in lane. Following on from that, knockdown as well. That's cast range reduced from 50 meters to 35 meters. It did have a lot of length.
Rock is dead.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rock is dead, but maybe. Who knows? I feel like right now knockdown was pretty strong in a case where you see someone in the back line, throw a knockdown on them, and then you've sort of won the fight. So I don't mind. I still think Rock is strong. Rock is strong. We are cavemans here in Deadlock. Rock good.
Rock is good.
Rock slightly worse.
Yeah. They've chiseled the rock.
Yeah.
A little. Well, the range of the rock. I suppose it's more your throwing capability.
Yeah. Reduce the musculature in your arm.
Thinned you down. It's been a long day here, live on location. Surge of power as well. It's cooldown reduced from 12 seconds to 10 seconds.
Interesting change here. I think that's going to benefit a lot of characters. I mean, for instance, might start building it again on Vindicta. Just depends what I'm going to put it on. Might start building it again on Paradox as well as Talon on Charge Shot. Did get pretty strong on what's it called, Kinetic Carbine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be a nice one. I don't know if I honestly don't even know if the cooldown on it really matters that much, but we'll see what changes. Maybe there's some people out there smarter than me that see what that's able to do.
Let us know. Answers on a postcard. It's kind of a discussion as much as it is a video as well.
Yeah.
So feel free to comment. It's all there for the Discord.
It is.
Ethereal Shift, that's had a bug fix that could prevent you from shooting after coming out of it. So just a nice little fix there.
I didn't even know that existed.
No.
I buy Ethereal Shift all the time on Paradox. I would have hated that if that happened to me.
That would have been a nightmare.
Thank you. Thank you that I've never experienced it, but also thank you for fixing that.
Yeah, similar sort of vein as well in terms of removing sort of weapon-based buffs from other categories. Curse no longer grants plus 20% ammo cap.
Yeah, again, effective DPS on the ammo, and Curse's overall disgusting item. I think if you're in your games, you're up against like a really buffed up, strong character, especially relies on abilities. Like I think a lot of times I've seen people lose to 7. Even if you're doing okay in the game and you're losing to a 7 because he just appears, he's finished jungling, he's very sweaty, but he's got his 50k souls. If you can afford to get Curse, you can shut him down with that. Curse is really strong. But again, I don't think that the 20% ammo count was justified on top of that.
No, that's fair enough. It makes sense. Diviner's Kevlar as well. It's been getting all sorts of buffs all over the shops. This time around, that's going to be a cooldown reduction, increased from plus 8% to plus 12%. 11th of July, that had some major overhauls.
Yeah.
It's trying to break in, I suppose is the way to frame it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it feels like it should be good, but there's just better items out there, again. And I think with the amount of buffs that's coming through, potentially starts becoming something people build a lot more. I've seen a lot of Ivies talking about it. Dynamo, good on him. When you hit Singularity, having that big shield and then all these cooldown reductions as well being improved, that helps with him. 7 might want to start building it as well for whilst he's in his ulti. We'll see where that goes. I'm still not fully convinced on Diviner's Kevlar, but again, people can definitely prove me wrong all the time.
Yeah, let us know. I think that's kind of it for a lot of the majority item changes, as there is quite a few to get through. So we'll move on into hero gameplay. Hero changes.
We're back. Abrams, shoulder charge now considers Spectral Wall and Frozen Shelter as walls. So if you trap a friendly Abrams inside a Frozen Shelter, or you trap a unfriendly Abrams inside a Frozen Shelter, just make sure you're not getting cracked against the ice wall.
Yeah.
Also interesting change as well, because that might make Abrams McGinnis Lane pretty annoying. Actually, I know for a fact there's a lot of really good duos out there who play some pretty funny lanes, some gamer lanes in their duos. So that could be another gamer lane, I would say. Infernal Resilience duration to regen increased from 14 to 16 seconds. From Yoshi himself in brackets, this is a nerf.
Just so you were aware, because of the way it's worded.
Not good is worse. So it's just the health to come back will take longer, and it's still regenerating at the same rate. Infernal Resilience damage regenerated reduced from 18% to 17%, was becoming a case late game where Abrams just couldn't die, without building too much into defensives either. I think there was a really good build guide called Red Abrams on the guide section. You want to look that one up, but that was quite little amount of defensive capability, but just to the point where it was still hard to take him down, even though he's doing so much damage. Infernal Resilience on his tier 3, so the third option to that, increases regeneration from 8% to 9%. So it was originally 8%, it's now 9%. That is a buff. That's brackets from blank. Blank brackets right there. Improve the reliability of seismic impact. Yes.
Nice.
Good change. Annoying when I feel like I hit someone or you can't really see because you're flying through the air so fast, Jacky.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few of those over the past couple of patches where you'll notice sort of baseline changes that are making things more consistent. Throwing nades whilst moving, or any sort of characters that have projectile-based ones, Ivy, Kelvin, stuff like that.
Warden as well. Alchemical Flask has received so many updates recently, which is it's nice. I don't mind it. Seismic impact base radius reduced from 6 meters, increased from 6 meters to 9 meters. That's kind of a big one. I really like that change. It did feel like his impact radius area was quite small, and it gave him a lot of time to get out of it. So I think that that's a good change. Impact T1 change from +4 meters impact to minus 40 second cooldowns. Now, I like that change because I do feel like when I'm playing Abrams, using seismic impact, it felt like this is on cooldown now for 100 seconds and I can't use it again, where it feels more like an ability that you should just be able to roam the map and use.
Yeah, get it out more consistently. And this goes back as well to the 11th of July update where we saw mass buffs for Abrams, where he did get some real sleeper buffs in terms of the damage as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of usability there. It felt like for a while he was a bit stagnant. People kind of figured out how to counter him, and that was
press
it.
F.
Yeah.
Which is why they gave him the stun on the charge as well, just because now you can reliably hit a heavy melee as well as getting the stun on the ultimate means that you can hit a melee on that one.
So sync up with your lashes as well. Make the most of all the buffs.
Super awesome. So his impact tier 3 moves to tier 2, was minus 70 seconds cooldown, and the tier 3 is now gains unstoppable while in air and 3 seconds after landing, which is probably, although the other changes are all fairly big, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Gaining unstoppable for probably like 80% of the normal duration after you land is massive for Abrams, especially when you just want to shut him down as quickly as possible. That's going to give him some breathing room to do what he needs to do. Next, Bebop. Base HP regen increased from 1 to 2.5. Annoying.
That's more of a reset as well, though, because we did have the nerf.
It was 2.
Yeah.
It was 2 before.
That's what I mean. We have the nerf.
Yeah.
Now we've got the buff.
I think they've nerfed it another way, though, and we'll go on to it now, which is that he no longer has base 24% bullet resistance.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because it was so difficult to get him out of lane a lot of times, because he didn't even feel like he had base regen of 1, but because by the time that became even relevant, he'd already bought like a lot of regen items like sprint boots, etc. But now only having 24% base bullet resistance gone and getting plus 2% bullet resistance per boon happens 11 times means he's much more manageable in the early game, I would say.
That's a fair change. It makes sense.
Yeah. Hook speed reduced from 3000 to 2850. Thank you. Hate getting hooked immediately the
it
worst.
was instantaneous, basically.
Yeah, still feels fairly slow, but close range is just the worst. Uppercut horizontal distance knockback on enemy is reduced from 25 meters to 20 meters. I think this is sort of like a buff. It's a buff and a nerf.
Okay.
In the sense of, if you knock someone directly upwards, you get a lot of time to shoot them whilst in midair, but they're not going to be going as high anymore. It's also a nerf and also a buff because a lot of times you would punch someone in the face and they would go so far across the map geometry that chasing them down was very hard.
Yeah.
So I don't mind this too much. I think it's more of a nerf than it is a buff, though.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think Bebop did need a couple of changes, so it's always nice to see he's being played around with.
Fixed enemies being able to use heavy melee to cancel uppercuts momentum. That was very infuriating as a Bebop player for quite a while. I think a lot of Abrams would do this actually, and it was funny because it was a lot of the bad Abrams I went into. You could just not deal with them because that was the first thing in the Abram brain was hold Q, punch.
Yeah.
Getting you in the air was just nightmarish. The big one is Hyper Beams is now very wide in the area right in front of the hero. Then narrows into the current size a few meters away. Its spirit power damage scale increased from 1.96 to 2.2, and its tier 2 buff is plus 140 DPS over 120. So I'm curious to see how good this is, because I felt like the laser beam was very nice in team fights to keep certain characters at bay. Now no longer comes online straight away.
No, so it's interesting. We'll put a video of that here.
Right here.
So you can see visually how that's looking now. So enjoy that. We want to play around with that a little bit more as well. We've been a bit busy today, so the idea is to experiment a little bit post-filming of this.
We'll have a look.
Yes, we'll have a look and you'll get some footage of that here.
Dynamo gun damage growth increased from 0.8 to 0.9. Needed. Hit like a wet sock. No stones in it. Yeah, he was
squelching.
Like I said earlier, desperately needs headshot booster to even make him kind of relevant in the early game. Very painful to deal with. Kinetic pulse spirit power scaling increased from 1.2 to 1.4. I like that change because it did, again, this carries on to the next one, which is singularity duration reduced from 3 to 2.75. Did feel like at some point in the game, no matter how badly you were doing on Dynamo, still infinitely useful because he presses 4.
Yeah.
You press, what is my purpose?
Press 4.
You press 4.
Yeah.
That's kind of Dynamo's
that was
existence.
the go-to.
Yeah. I'll pass it back up to you now. I'm on 2%.
We're quite low on the phone.
You have to get through these.
We'll try and rattle off the rest of the patches. All right, Dynamo it is then, out of the way. So great Talon up on screens. Let's have a look at Charge Shot.
I hate this one.
Okay, Charge Shot, damage reduced from 115 to 105.
Yeah, I still hate this one. Carry on.
There you go. Great Talon. Still too strong. His Charge Shot spirit scaling has been increased from 1.3 to 1.6.
That's the one I really hate. I played against, I can't remember who it was. I remember it being like a semi-pro. It might have been an old...
Was it TSAC?
It was TSAC, yeah.
The CS player.
Old
used
CS
to
player.
Play for Greece in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, so I think he played against us and he fully built into AP Talon.
Yeah.
Which I think has become more popular recently. But it is, I think, the change that needs to happen... This is me being a pseudo developer right now.
Yeah.
I think the change that needs to happen is that the hitbox on Charge Shot needs to be reduced.
It is wide.
It's too forgiving for the amount of damage it does, especially in early game. And now with the improved spirit scaling, I think if you want to win your games, I say go out there and play AP Talon. You might not win in high MMR matches, but certainly low MMR. The fact that you can just win lane by doing that without really having to rely on your jump. I think it's going to be pretty busted, personally.
Yeah, probably a bit aggro, so Grey Talon still going to be dealing damage.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere yet. Haze-wise, though, they continue to play around with Haze's kit a little bit. There's been a few swaps going on. That's going to be Fixation. Her Tier 1 and Tier 2 have been swapped on that. I don't think that's that bad, actually. That should be a bit more reasonable, all things considered.
I think so.
Yeah, that's not that bad. Let's have a look at Sleep Dagger then. So the minimum reduced time has gone down, the minimum sleep time has gone down from 0.3 seconds to 0.2, and wake up time has been reduced from 0.15 to 0.1. Yeah,
I think that's just more quality of life changes. I think was quite annoying, being slept and then getting shot immediately.
Yeah.
And it felt like, you know, you're sleeping, you're awake, but it's almost a pseudo stun at that point in time, which you don't really want because that's not what it's acting as. It's acting as a sleep, which I always ruin when Jacky plays Haze, is that he'll sleep someone, I'll shoot him in the head, and I'll be like, sorry.
What are you doing?
I
was sleeping for a reason.
I haven't heavy melee that guy.
Yeah. Okay, also with that, the projectile size has been slimmed down, so that's down by 10%.
It was pretty fat.
It was very forgiving in a lot of situations.
Do that change, but to grey time.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty nice, all things in all. Bullet dance, that's fire rate increased from 20% to plus 25%, and the radius is up by 1 meter from 14 to 15.
No longer a case of just being able to roll out of it anymore.
No.
I think you can still roll out of it, but I think the majority of the damage will be done.
It was minuscule though, unless you built for the increased range.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are building into, even if you just bought Mystic Reach, that still adds quite a lot of range to it, and then late game you buy improved reach and the thing's going to be big.
It does get really big later on. Really big. That's what we like. IV, that's going to be base damage reduction from 5 to 4.5.
I mean, yeah. Is it base bullet damage or
just base damage?
Yeah, base damage required.
Yeah,
very much required. Ivy went from being support character to new Wraith.
Yeah,
in one patch, from the bullet damage growth as well. So I think that is quite a important change and a needed change too, just because she was so strong. The amount of games that I came out of playing Ivy, the amount of games you've probably seen in the Discord, people posting their screenshots of just like 25k objective damage and just rinsing people. I think she was too strong for what she's intended to do. She's too strong.
Yeah, she had been swollen a little bit. Watcher's Covenant, that's going to be healing reduced from 35% to 30%, so a little bit of a reduction there on the heal.
Yeah.
We're at 1%.
They try and pass that last patch.
It's been getting played with a lot. 4th of July it had some changes, and 11th of July it had some changes. So it's getting tweaked patch to patch. Kelvin, you've got Frost Grenade cooldown reduced from 23 seconds to 21 seconds, so a couple seconds of difference there. Ice Trail duration's also up again. It was buffed recently. I think that was the 4th of July. That's up from 15 seconds to the 18 second mark.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of buffed around Urn as well, because now it's on the other side of the map. I think that was one of the really cool things you could do in Kelvin, which was just circumvent any kind of geometry and just like run over the map to mid and hand it in there. If you only started playing recently, it was a case where you could hand it into a little chest in mid. Now it's on the other side. Looks very cool, looks very pretty. I like it a lot. But yeah, Kelvin kind of wasn't as good at that anymore.
Yeah, Arctic Beam Tier 3 now also hits up to 2 additional targets. We're really low on phone power, so we'll rattle through these.
Oh no.
Our only access to the notes. Yeah, it's rough. Let's have a look at Lady Geist then. That's going to be base bullet damage reduced from 28 to 25. Now obviously, Lady Geist, if you could aim, she was filthy.
Yeah, headshots on Lady Geist, disgusting, really just kills you off.
Yeah, it does. But bullet growth has been buffed from 1.84 to 2.1, so...
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just a lot of this early game nuisance being trying to remove a lot of that, really.
Yeah, overall, smaller changes for Geist there.
The big one is the Soul Siphon, which means you can use it on anyone now.
Yeah, and you will always get that minimum 30% of their current health.
Yeah, so it's no longer a case you have to wait for them to be higher HP than you. So
they can be at lower.
That's a really good change. I like that change.
That's not
it felt useless.
You did. Her role was very situational, so much so, with the range, the ability on it. It felt hard for onboarding new players as well to explain to them how to use it.
You can argue, I think a lot of people would argue it's a great ult, but now it's in a much, much better place.
It's more forgiving. Definitely more forgiving. Lash has had a collection of numerous changes. Each and every patch, it feels like Death Slam's getting adjusted somewhat. More so than anything here, it's just a bit of a reduction on the radius. That's down from 13 meters to 11 meters. Grab time is also down. So that's down from 0.8 to 0.6.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, it has got to the point now where you can't really just fly over the top of the map and just grab people instantly, which is how it used to be before. But now, because everything's reduced in range, it feels more forgiving to give him that. leeway.
With that as well, Death Slam's tier 1 has been changed from plus 4 meters cast range to plus 8 meters throw distance. So if you want to throw them back into your own team or into something that will deal damage,
You need to invest into it.
yeah, that actually could be kind of useful.
That's useful, but also detracts people away from just maxing one now.
Yeah.
Because that was like a really big play. It does a lot of damage. And with the increased radius, like this way, that was painful to deal with. But I like that now you have to make a choice. Do you want to throw them back into your Dynamo, or do you want to do more just damage on your own?
Yeah. Spectral Wall for McGuinness, that's also had its cooldown increased from 30 seconds to 35 seconds.
Thank you.
Everyone was spamming it out constantly. It felt like you were always getting hit by walls, so I don't mind that. That's a bit of a reduction. One key change there as well, though, is that Spectral Wall segments that are touching the Rejuvenator will now be destroyed on contact. So you can't instantly wall it or make the clipping awkward for someone trying to get the punch on the Rejuve.
Yeah, because I think it was a case where you could just instantly hit the wall, and anyone was close to the Rejuve, you could steal as McGuinness.
Yeah.
Which feels like that's not her role. That's why I welcome that change.
Yeah, that's a good one. Kind of cleans up the overall gameplay experience as well with how mid-boss and the surrounding area has been changed in this patch. It feels sort of like what we had to bases a couple patches ago, right?
Yeah.
You've gone that route here, which is nice. Can't complain about that one. Paradox then, time wall projectile stop duration has been reduced from 1.25 seconds just to 1 second.
That's a really good change. And again, I think they've been changing that quite frequently, but it's a case of, this is my tip to you when you're playing into Paradox now, is if she throws up the time wall, it's actually not that bad of an idea just to pump bullets into the time wall where she is, because if she just stands there in front of those bullets, eventually they're all just going to fly through, and she's going to take a massive amount of damage. So it's still a really good dueling tool for Paradox if you can play around it, but it's no longer... as I put it in the locked in laning video, it's no longer no fun allowed.
Yeah.
It has outplay now.
It was
does
a get
have
out of jail
outplay.
free card. So.
Yeah, and you have to play smartly for it to work.
And then Paradoxical Swap has had its projectile size reduced by 10%.
Yeah, I think that's also an interesting change, just in the sense that it already was quite a small projectile, but because it's on such a low cooldown, the skill floor for it was not that high. And especially when I was playing Paradox, if you watch Mikhail S playing Paradox as well, he's swapping people all over the place, and you can have cases where someone's running around a corner, you throw the Paradox will swap through, and they'll actually still swap them on that one. So I think that's a good change, reducing it by 10%, because it feels now still strong, but less unfair.
It also just seems like this patch, there's maybe been a bit of testing the idea of making more of those range sort of abilities a little bit more like a skill shot, rather than kind of a skill shot but very forgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is nice. Pocket's base bullet resistance has been improved from minus 20% to minus 15%.
Done.
There you go.
That's all of them.
Yeah, well, basically everything. 7.
Basically everything, yeah.
I mean, for 7, you've just got base regen up from 1 to 1.5. Base bullet resistance reduced from 20 to 8%. He now gains plus 1% bullet resistance per boon. That will happen 11 times. And his power surge scaling has been reduced from 0.2 to 0.16.
Yeah.
So minor changes to 7.
Yeah, some minor changes, but again, I feel like 7 maybe needed a couple more nerfs. I don't know. I think he's very strong right now.
He is. He's super good at farming, and it's hard to... I suppose it's hard to pinpoint how you would nerf around that.
Yeah, I do think that it's... I think the problem I find with him right now, and I think I like the change, I like what they do with the fact that the stun distance increases with spirit power, but I think that was egregious.
Yeah.
The fact that late game you can start stunning people before they're even in range to do anything to you, like before they can even get into curse range, like it's difficult to deal with. I do like that change, but I feel like that's something that might be reverted in the future. I don't know, potentially. Yeah. Again, I'm not a developer. At the end of the day, pseudo developer.
We're just here. We're
just
armchair
here.
analysts.
Exactly.
Basically.
But yeah, I don't know. 7 feels very strong, and I think, respect to the guys in the development team, I don't really know what to do with them either right now.
No, not at all. But you are making a great game, and it's very fun to play, and we both enjoy spending a lot of our spare time doing it. So much so that even when we're at an esports event we're getting paid to be at, we ran to the room after we finished casting just to talk about the patch. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been Patch Notice on the road with Jacky and Blank.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. Well, see you later. Bye-bye.